Okay, so we will start with talking about just what the course looks like. Start here. I expected you all to do that in the past week. Your reading materials are the reading materials for the course. They're all available as e-materials, so either online or a PDF, or you might go to the TCC eBrary. You need to be online when you do that. You can download from the eBrary. I give you instructions on how to download the media as well. So you could download a chapter at a time and read it if it's one of the books. You can actually download the entire book for a period of time. There is an online reading limit, and then there is a different limit, which is the those that are on, and let's see if we're still recording. Yes, good. Those that are online at the time reading it. So if you find that you hit the cap, because suddenly everybody in Mr. Simpson's class decides to read on Tuesday and Wednesday before they go to class, what you can do to avoid that is, since you are in this class, go ahead and do the download of the media so that you can read it local. And then that doesn't tax the licenses. Does that make sense? Yeah. But if you try to read online, there's only 5 seats. So,
oh, I see. So it's 5 copies of the book, essentially.
Well, copies of the book can go out on checkout, more than 5, but only 5 people at a time can read online.
Oh.
So that's why I said download it and read it locally.
So it's like Netflix.
That's why I wasn't able to get it, how we pull it up.
Well, it'll tell you that all the licenses are used. It'll tell you that. So try to read earlier rather than later. If you wait until Wednesday, you're going to get hit with the people from Mr. Simpson's class who are all going to be trying to read at the last minute, right?
Okay.
So try to think ahead about that.
How many books are there?
A whole bunch.
Oh, there's a bunch.
Well, there's just, and I have you read different chapters based upon what we're doing that week. There is a fair amount of reading in this class.
Well, that's fine. I don't mind that. I need to make sure as soon as I turn this in, I need to make sure I can get access to this.
Yeah, and actually, as soon as you turn that in, then you'll be enrolled in the class, and then you will have...
On Saturdays?
I do not know. I will put a request for you. If you email me, I'll put a request in for you to be added to the class manually.
Okay.
So that we can get you access over the weekend potentially.
That would be great.
I have an in with the person that can do that for me.
Ooh, okay.
So we'll see if she's...
Right
if she will play nice. So some of this is just sort of warm-up stuff. It's not meant to be too heavy, and that's why I call it a warm-up. So that's the start here. Everybody should be past that. We'll go back to the team project and extra credit. So in week 1, basically there's things I want you to do before you get to class. So I want you to read before you come. And what that does is it sets you up, if you're reading ahead of the class, it sets you up for a good conversation. So it's not like the first time you heard the topic. It also sets you up to then move forward with your online discussions and being able to basically articulate what you're reading, assimilate that. And then you're also ready for your team activity, which tends to be tied to what we're doing in class. Okay? I record lectures, and you will notice if there's the overview, which tells you what I want you to do this week. And then if we go into lectures, you will see that there are old recordings here, and that's acceptable. If there is a new recording I need to make, like there's something I haven't done before, I'll record it. But right now, there's no reason for me to record the CISSP overview because, honestly, it's already there. It's good stuff. It's from last year. So, and they're all captured. These are not Panopto files, so you'll all be good. Yes? Make sense? Okay. Let's talk about, and the orientation was from a previous class. I'll upload this orientation once I'm done. Let's talk about navigation. You'll notice I take away all the navigation on you. Now, I see all the navigation, but you only see what I give you. And the reason is I want you to go into modules and go through everything in the class. I have too many students in the past who have gone to quizzes and just take all the quizzes. Anything that's an assignment, they go there and do it. They don't read the material. They just try to wing it because they're trying to do it with the least amount of energy possible. I always tell my students that I've trained online from University of Phoenix and right now from Southern California University. And if you avoid the reading, you're not learning the topic. You're learning a very small piece necessary to answer a question. That's not relevant to all the things you need to know that week. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you will only get out of this program what you put into it. If you ride along and you don't participate heavily in your team assignments, You just sort of like, hurrah, we're doing a great thing. You don't contribute. You're there as a support person. Then you're not getting the most you can out of this course, nor the program. Does that make sense? So I want you to apply yourself. And what that means is reading the content. It means, if I've got a recording, listening to the recording. It means that if you are assigned a task in your team, to dive in and throw yourself at it. I strongly recommend that you participate fully, and then that way, you don't have to be the leader every time to do that. You don't have to push people around and tell them to do it your way. You just have to be willing to contribute, both to conversations as well as assignments. So that's the first thing. I want you to take that away. You're halfway through your program. If you haven't done it till now, you can recover, okay? Because this is a really important quarter. This is the quarter that you now diverge into your specialization, where you're going to study deeper into a topic. This is the quarter where you get your final whack at learning server installs and virtualization. You're going to be proving it in the future, but this is 262 is the final quarter you actually get to do it without being guided the entire way. Next quarter, you have to do it on your own. We tell you this is what we want, and you have to go do it. So you're not going to have hand-holding as much as you had in the past. And you're going to find this course is really a transition for that. Because in this quarter, we add what's called ambiguity. We don't give you all the answers. So when you come up against something that doesn't work, you've performed server installs in Spring. You did that. But you might come up against something when you're trying to implement a application that you've never seen before. And your instructor is going to say, well, did you research that error? Did you look to see what the answer was? Why are you just coming to me for the answer? And in the future, you're not going to have us to go to. So we need you to start transitioning to own that. Does that make sense? It doesn't mean we don't care. We do care about you getting answers, and experiencing a little bit of frustration is a good thing. But if you try to use the shotgun approach to troubleshooting, you're going to find yourself really, really frustrated. Does everybody know what the shotgun approach to troubleshooting is? No, it's emotionally. It's a behavior, though.
It's
yes?
just throwing something out there and saying, fix it.
I get it all the time when you talk to help desk. They'll say, have you rebooted the system? That's not the only answer out of the book. It is one, and it's a good answer, but when you talk about firewalls, it's not a good answer. Okay, when we talk about production servers, it's not a good answer. We need to understand more.
You don't shut down your servers, you're not providing.
Yeah. Now, in this level, you might get to a point in your installation, and we're not doing any physical installs in this class. This is an analysis class, hence why all the reading about analysis process. But it's about thinking through very complex processes and coming up with a reason why it's not working and a reason why it should work. What can you do to improve the process? In 262, you learn about how to implement server, but more complex implementations. And if you start troubleshooting by saying, oh, I just need to reboot, that's not the only... You're just going to keep doing it. That said, though, I have often told students, if you get deep into a problem when you're doing your install and initial configuration of DNS and DHCP and virtual server, you may want to back up to the beginning and do it again. I actually had a student that came to me when I was teaching as an adjunct. It's before I took over the program. And I had him come as an intern. And I had him rebuild an Office server 4 times. So it was a server that was going to now host the Office applications within the business I was working in. And I made him rebuild it 4 times. I said, if I find a flaw, you start again from scratch. You wipe the drive and do it all over again. Because anything you do wrong along the way, and the first one was, by the way, he built it and didn't document it. And so I told him, go back and document it, because I cannot replicate what you did if I want a backup server. So I need you to do exactly the same thing the second time when you build the second server for me. So this is why we really reiterate documenting your work and lab logs, not screenshots. What did you do? How did you do it? And then you can say, oh, I missed a step. Yes?
This is all easy for me. I'm an ex-helicopter mechanic.
Okay, yeah. Very good.
Olze.
Very good. So yeah, I mean, that really puts sort of like the rubber to the road, right? If you make a mistake or you don't follow the right process, lives are on the line, right?
Leave a few bolts out. You always have extra bolts when you're done.
If you have extra bolts, it's time to go looking to see what didn't get the extra bolt, right?
Yeah.
Because you know why nuts. You know why bolts have two nuts, right? Do you know why bolts have two nuts? Have you ever seen that when you're disassembling something?
Depends on what. Depends on what parts.
So, well, have you ever seen it where you have a bolt that has two nuts on it? The whole idea of two nuts is that the second one locks the first one. So that's why you see bolts with two nuts. Yeah. So if you have an extra nut, we've got a problem, right? Okay. So from that perspective, you are going to be looking at processes in this class that need to be corrected, need to be improved upon. So we've gone through the week 1 lectures. I'll actually talk, but we're going to go down here. I'm more giving you the overview of the lay of the land at this point. Okay. So other than that, I have additional reading. So there's reading that's in the week 1 overview, but then there's additional reading. This is information that will help you in the future. It will help you understand what's going on in our industry. Now, you notice this is 2013. Mm-hmm. The reason it says 2013, by the way, hasn't really changed a great deal. The requirements for people in our industry, the number of people we need is going up dramatically. So I'm okay with older information as long as it's still relevant. The CISSP exam outline, the only thing that's changed is the addition of cloud. We have not yet added that to the program. It will be added. It's added sparse throughout the program, but it'll be added more heavily in the future, especially in the BAS. And then I have your independent assignments. You've got your week 1 discussion and your quiz. I want you to not be too verbose. Like, make it something you'd want to read. 1 paragraph is too little. 2, we're getting there. You know, say something that means something. Add to the conversation, add to the knowledge. If somebody's already covered that topic, don't just reiterate it and change the words. Please actually add something that makes sense for others to read. Okay? Because I find in online classes, or classes that have online discussion forums, that we read each other's posts and we learn from each other. So that's a really important aspect behind what we do. So take that very seriously. Every time I post in my doctoral program, I make it something that comes from the perspective of IO psychology, because everyone I am with is from the perspective of patient therapy. And so I'm a one of. So I bring in things that are really outside the box for them, outside of their skill set. However, they're talking about therapy from, this is something they do every day. And so, again, that's outside my skill set, but, you know, I'm comfortable with the conversation. So from that perspective, this is basically just the overview of the class itself. Let's go to the team project. In the team project, I don't have your membership in there because we're going to do that tonight. I have a piece on successful virtual teams. In this class is the first time you're going to be exposed to virtual teams. And so I want you to, be able to benefit from your team activities. Having virtual teams is something you're going to be doing in the future. As an example, I have, with Radware, I work with 3 other people on the team we're the 4 trainers that travel the world providing training. We have document writers who really don't know the product in depth, but they know how to take what is said about it in development and bring it to something that we can present. And then we edit that. And then we have our lab assistant who keeps our labs up and running. And so we are nowhere near one another. The only ones that are near one another are 2 of the trainers are out of Germany. Other than that, we're spread around the world. And so it's important that we work together and figure out how to make something happen even when it might be really difficult to pull it off. So as an example, I have some travel coming up. And that travel is to Hong Kong and then to Mumbai. So it's one after the other. I'm working with a team from Hong Kong who is asking me to come there and train them. And then subsequently I'll go to Mumbai to work with a team that's selling to a very large banking client out of Mumbai. And so I'm coming along as a subject matter expert to explain how this application, this software works, this hardware works, and then how it will improve their security. So that's what I'm there for. And I'm also there to train them. Training comes in lots of forms. Sometimes it's just a conversation, and sometimes it's working in labs. In both of these instances, more than likely no labs will be done by them. I'll be just demonstrating. So it's really just to get them to buy in. I come back for the actual training later. This class is structured a little bit differently. I was very creative with it. I brought together all the bad companies that I have worked for within a window and all their bad security practices. And you'll probably encounter most of these somewhere in Tacoma, South Puget Sound. Any small to medium-sized business will be rife with the problems I'll show you. I give it to you in the form of interviews. Because when you do a security assessment, you go to the company, you learn about how they do business, who are the people that do the work, and then what are their credentials and what best practices do they follow, and what do they document, how do they do their work. And that's normally we're going to find a lot of problems. I always find problems with network diagrams. We beat you over the head with it and tell you, document your work. Please learn it here because we want you to take that out of here when you go. Change management is all about documenting what the system is, then what you do to it, and where it goes. If you don't do change management effectively, you can destabilize systems and bring in vulnerabilities. If you are not responsive to vulnerabilities and your hierarchy or bureaucracy is too heavy, then you won't update your systems in time and you'll be vulnerable to exploits and attack. So there was a very large reporting agency for people's incomes and their credit that experienced just that. And that's an exceedingly large company that had a security breach because of not following best practices and too heavy a bureaucracy to make change happen. So there's all sorts of things that contribute to that. What I will do is I give you some pre-recorded ones. The first 3 are there. Don't feel like you got to rush into it. You need to know some things before you understand what you're hearing. Then also, I'd like you to put some questions in the interview questions, and then I will try to answer those for you, and then we'll get a new recording relevant to some of the new information you think. But you'll have to listen to recordings before you get new questions because you might find out it's already in recording, right? So how we do it is we go out and interview. So we might have a team of people go out and they'll meet with different people within the organization, within their skill set, and we ask questions about how they do work. The idea of penetration testing is a very small component of the security assessment. People say, oh, I want to be a pen tester. How many people, that's your goal in life to be a pen tester? Raise your hand. Say no. And the reason is that the reason I want you to say no is because we can automate just about all of it. The only thing we don't automate is social engineering. And we can automate that through phishing. We can test you there, right? So we can automate the entire process. Why do I need you to physically do the work? I need analysts. That's what I need, to go out and ask questions, who understand how servers are supposed to be hardened, best practices that are supposed to be used and applied, and why those should be there, and how to identify when it's not there. Because you're going to find that the staff at the organization you analyze is going to try everything possible to avoid showing their cards, showing their real behaviors. So you have to be really observant. So we'll use interviews as a way of getting that information about your project. It's a different way of doing it. It's not written. You can't just cut and paste. You're going to have to listen to the interview. Your team might want to listen to the interview and have a conversation about it. That might be the best way to do it. Rather than saying, oh, you listen to interview A, Exhibit A, you listen to Exhibit B and Exhibit C. all three of you are going to hear different things. You're going to miss things he would have caught. You're going to miss things he would caught. So I would say all of you should listen. You can listen as a group even. Take notes. It's more robust because you can bounce off one another. Does that make sense? Okay. Any concerns yet? No? It's pretty hard and fast when we talk to grading. You have your team project is worth a very large percentage of your grade because I want to make sure that you play nice and sit together and do your work. And then I also have the individual activities. You have individual discussions and individual quizzes to force you to read. Even if you're resistant to reading, you're going to have to do some reading to pass the quizzes. Make sense?
Right.
Okay, so there's actually a method behind my madness when I design a class. Our time together will generally be conversation about interesting topics. Okay. Let's see. And team membership will work that out tonight. Extra credit. It looks like we're going to have a really, really early T-zone this year. October 20th. Yeah, that's really early. I would just go and get the points. How T-zone has changed is you can only get 10 points applied to each class you attend. So this class, even though you might go afternoon and evening, only 10 of those points would apply to this class. It's always worth it. It helps when you're bad at taking tests or you stumble on the discussion forums. You know, I don't want it to be because you ignored your team.
Yeah.
People have gamed the classes that I teach that way, thinking, oh, I can avoid the team assignment and just do all the extra credit possible, and I'll pass the class. Guess what? You get to pass a class with a C-. What does that mean? No. What C- means is you get to retake it, because in this program you must have a C in all of your IT classes or better to move on.
Whoa.
Oh, I gamed it. I gamed you. And I said, okay, well, what does it take for me to make you do the work? To take away somebody who might try to avoid the team project. Generally, that actually happens in spring quarter, not in fall and winter. Wow, yeah. Yeah, so if you find you've got a team member who's avoiding contact and avoiding work, say, you know, this isn't going to work out well in the end if you avoid it and you don't get enough points. Contribute. And buy in early to what you're going to do. I've always told students that you need to say, okay, here's the project scope. I'll buy in. Don't buy into the presentation. That's lame. Buy into something that goes into the meat of the product. Everybody has to contribute to the presentation. So somebody's nice enough to bring it together and make it look professional. But the reality is everybody should be contributing to the analysis and the recommendations. So your security assessment and remediation. You have an extra couple of points for the end of course survey. I bribe you there. If you don't go to T-zone, you can do a research paper. I'm not as friendly about grading on the research paper, so you're going to have to make it sexy if you want me to really pay attention. Okay? Yep. I'm not a hard ass. I just want you to work for what you do here, right? Okay, so let's go ahead, and now that you know the lay of the land and you know why I hide everything and just give you modules and announcements, because I'm driving you to go through all the content. It's not like IT 112. IT 112 requires you to actually open and look at everything. I'm training you to go on to the next section. That's required in IT 112. I don't do that here. You could jump around, but honestly, it's a sequential learning process. You might as well go through it sequentially. Okay, so that's the overview. If I have, so in announcements, I have all my announcements, but you only see what I show you. So I'll show you real quick about announcements, just to get that out of the way. In announcements, I basically have announcements that trigger throughout the quarter relevant to things I need you to know, to like draw you back into the fold and get you working again. I've been training and teaching online a lot, so I don't give you a message unless it makes sense. But if we are going to not have a class meeting, I know, it just stumbled. It was taking too long. Oh, I see why. Can you see what the problem is?
The Wi-Fi is up?
Yeah.
Yep. The Wi-Fi wants me, so it's asking. Yep.
Every 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I think it
Yeah, it was doing that to me too.
Hold on. I've got an answer for that.
Hotspot?
Yeah. I'm loaded for bear. I got it.
I use my hotspot more than I care to.
Okay, when that puppy comes up, we're going there. I'm not going to deal with this every time. So just give me some patience while I'm waiting for my hotspot to come back up. Should be up shortly. Come on.
That's when a wired connection is nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. I remember you saying, I remember having that phone, that old phone.
It's up and running.
This one?
There it is.
It's fast.
No,
Okay.
I remember we had an old phone.
They're old stickers too. They're fast.
What company is that you're using for hotspot?
AT&T. Yep.
AT&T is the best.
I don't like it.
I'm training AT&T next week.
I don't like it.
You know, they're big. It's provided by my company, by the way, so I'm
Right.
free to use it.
There you go.
But yeah, AT&T is a big animal. Okay, so I have announcements you see here that you won't see in your screen because this hasn't been released yet. But inspiration, I like it to have some inspiration in every class. But I give you messages throughout the quarter, these down here at the bottom. If you find a broken link, and yes, I know that the links for the other recordings are still needing to be copied off. You might be able to access Panopto. I can, but it just depends on your Canvas connection. So you can listen to those, even though they're in Panopto. The only thing you need to do is log in again, more than likely when you get to that point. I will post your team membership. We'll sort that out tonight. We'll do the sorting very shortly. Your teams this time will be no more than 3 people. I don't want social loafing if I can help it. So I'm going to have you work in smaller teams than usual. Let's see. So that's announcements. Oh, if I have a class that I'm not going to be here for. So I will let you know the day of the class, so you have to check your email. That's how I'll let you know. I may be able to get it up into announcements, depends on where I'm at. If I'm over the Pacific, jetting my way back here, but not going to be back in time. I may or may not have Wi-Fi. It depends on who I'm flying with. So that may limit my ability to post, especially if I have a delay pop up. So I'll let you know the day of that I'm not going to be here. You're welcome to come here and work with your team, but it's not necessary. It's depending upon how your team dynamic is working and whether you are going to work together physically. So if that's the case, if your team says, okay, if Ms. Smith says we're not going to have a class meeting that week because of some unforeseen circumstance, we will meet on campus during class time. Or you might say, we're going to meet on Thursday instead because we're all on campus on Thursday. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. But you need to have 100% consensus for your team. Don't so much have 2 people meet and say, okay, it was good, but you couldn't be here. Please don't do that. I want your teams to work together. I'll let you know that when I work with the virtual teams that I work with, my husband points this out, it's never on my schedule. It's always on theirs. Like if I work with the folks in Indy, it's a 1 a.m. phone call. If I'm working with the folks in the East Coast and we're doing an all-day training, I'm up at 4:30 and I'm online by 5:30. So, and then I'm online all day, okay, and I have to wrangle them remotely. So it's always the other person that you have to adjust for. It's not that the life we live gets adjusted to you. Very rarely does that work out. So keep that in mind and be very patient with trying to schedule meetings with your team. Okay, so now I'm going to stop our recording because I think I've covered everything. Does anybody have any questions that I haven't covered?
Just a little jealous you get to China.
Ah! Yeah, I'll let you know every place I get to go, so you get to go and be jealous. That's fine. I don't get extra time. It's not like I get to go and see things.
I just
Yeah.
want to get a look to see if the whole pollution thing's real. Or
It is real. I've been to Bangladesh. I get sick after I go to places like that.
I know that when I was in Korea,
Yeah.
when I was doing my runs in Korea.
You don't run. You have to run with. I was working out
had the
in
yellow
and
sand coming.
God's. I was in Bangladesh and I was in the workout room and I saw the sun rising, and it's like this red haze. I'm like, oh man. And I'm in an air-filtered hotel and room. I'm in a room where they filter the air, and I still came back and had a really bad infection, sinus infection kind of thing after that. It took me 2 weeks to get past it. Singapore is not so bad, but it just depends if they're doing burning in Malaysia, so it depends on the time of year. New Delhi is horrid.
I want to go to Morocco. I haven't been to Morocco.
Okay. I haven't been to Morocco. Haven't had a need yet. Any place in India, air's bad, water's bad, rivers are polluted. I've seen rats, no joke, this big, okay? It is.
Go to Louisiana, you'll see the same.
Oh yeah, no. You see the rats swimming in Louisiana, and you think that they're probably
dogs.
like a dog or a possum or something. No, that's a rat. No, I was driving from the airport to the hotel, which, by the way, those hotels never look as pretty as they show them online. And so it was okay though. It just don't open the window, don't open your curtains, and the illusion will go away.
You'll be all right.
Yeah, don't open the curtains and the illusion's great. But no, I was driving from the airport really early in the morning. It was 2 o'clock in the morning, and my driver, it was like being in Harry Potter. You know the bus that picked him up? It was like riding in the bus that picked him up. The bed sliding back and forth. It was really bizarre. And he was going like literally straight for a wall, and then turns. And I'm like, I didn't know they could do that. Oh, they drive different. So
crazy.
I'm driving along, and I see a cow. And remember, it's 2 o'clock, and the cow's just sort of standing there. I see a dog. He's curled up in a little ball. Oh, there's a dog. And then I see a rat, which was bigger than the dog. I'm like, my God. But it's a very polluted place. The people are astounding. The people I come in contact with are really cool. But remember, I'm dealing with a level of society that is different than the average or the mass of India. But culturally, they're really, really great people to visit. That said, the environment is really, really bad. So anyway, I've been to a lot of places where, even Tel Aviv, there are times when Tel Aviv, the air is really bad because they get the sand coming in. And the company I work for is out of Tel Aviv. So it just depends on the place they send and the time of year. And I'm there for the client activity, and then after the client activity is done, I'm on my plane heading back. So there's not a whole lot of spare time. I don't arrive early a couple of days and have.
Yeah, I would still like to, if I did have a job like that, I would get to travel a lot. I love travel. So.
Okay, so you can look at jobs that have 80% travel, and maybe that would be a good thing for you.
I'm still a little jealous that you get to go to India, even though the air.
Oh.
Because I'm from India.
Okay, well, the thing is that you can have a job in our industry and get paid well and go to places you want to go to and spend more time there without having it dedicated solely towards your work. Because for me, I'm picked up at the hotel, I go straight to the client, I am indoors from, well, if I'm in Asia, I'm working overnight, so my world turns upside down. And then when I'm done, I get in the car and I'm back at the hotel and I'm exhausted. I could eat food and die. That's it. I'm down. The more hours I can be horizontal, the better. But honestly, and then, you get the problem with, no, it's not jet lag. It's your body does a thing like it naps, and then I wake up like 4 hours later and go,
The light sleep.
okay, now what? So I basically catnap a lot when I travel, but yeah, power naps.
I sleep so well on planes because I hate flying. So.
Well, you get used to it. If you're used to, and see, that's a problem. If you hate flying or travel.
But I fall asleep during the planes.
Oh, that's good.
The whole way. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. I wake up right when I land.
So there's all sorts of tricks to this particular life if you travel. But I'm actually more concerned about questions relevant to the course, the content, any questions you have about this. We'll have more than enough time to talk about that in the future. I'll try not to record those things.
So these interviews, are they every week we do one? Or is
Yeah, I mean, you can go through them every week. You're going to be coming up with your different mitigations based upon what you know about the protocols we use for analyzing a company, whether they're doing the thing right. So when we get to administrative protocols and you're looking at how a company administratively works, you could listen to the recordings and look for administrative issues. The next week we'll be working on technical issues, and you could say, okay, that's technical. We need to, and you'll remember, you'll say, didn't Exhibit B have more technical stuff in it that we could pull out and say was bad, and this is what you need to fix? Does that make sense? So I'm scaling your learning.
Those interviews
Yeah, probably.
Like one time.
Yeah, probably. Everybody should at least listen to them once, and then you're probably going to go back as a group. Yes.
So, I just have a question about the group project. What is that going to be geared towards? Is it going to be more network diagram or slideshow presentation?
Oh, okay. It's a presentation. You're going to write a security assessment and deliver it to me.
Oh, okay.
But the presentation is where you point out the highlights as if it's an executive summary. You're in presenting to the executive saying why you should fix your world. And so they paid you for the assessment. The assessment includes what do we do next. You are not normally part of the mitigation itself or the remediation. You are normally part of the analysis and pointing out what's wrong, and then certain things are changed internally. Maybe they don't have a security team. Maybe they don't have an administrator. I have come to a lot of organizations that don't have network administrators that are actually trained. They're somebody's kid, or they're another skill set, an engineer in another skill set, and they, got some online training, and they said, yeah, I could maintain the servers. And they take them out of a contract situation where someone else was maintaining them for them, and then they keep it in-house, they save money. And that right there, as soon as they do that, they're vulnerable right there, because not one person has their eyes on the problem. He's got another job. He's keeping the water and the lights on, maybe. That's his engineering job. And over here, the network just sits and runs. So he's like, I don't need to touch it. It's running. Yeah, there's a huge gap in knowledge there. Okay. So you'll determine what that is.
All right.
I just give you the bad behaviors that I've seen in different organizations.
Is there any end result or any example of a good
No.
presentation?
So I give you a blank security assessment about halfway through the quarter.
Okay.
But the reality is there's lots of different variations on that theme online. Okay. You can use someone else's model to it. You might decide to talk very heavily about the need to upgrade their systems. Mm-hmm. But don't forget the huge gaps that could be in staff or support or maintenance of those systems. So you may come back and say, you'd be far better than having these on-site systems to be fully in a cloud environment where you have support. But that doesn't negate having a technologist on their company roles who can interpret and administer that environment. Just because you have a cloud environment doesn't mean all risks have gone away. They've changed. Actually, they've become bigger and more complex. So you have to decide what that is that they need to do. Mm-hmm.
Another thing, so I took 274, and you talked a lot about DoD, Department of Defense,
Mm-hmm.
and they had their different areas and what need to know and all that kind of stuff. And the way it was laid out and stuff, is that the kind of thing that we would be looking for?
You can. That can be something. This is like I'm giving you clues to the future Easter egg hunt.
Okay.
And so as we go through the class, you're going to be learning new things having to do with how to do an assessment, what things you look for.
Nice.
So that week you'll say, okay, we need to focus on, did the company have these things happen? Mm-hmm. And if you do this each week along the way, both working as a team, as an individual, you will find that bringing it all together in the end will not be so challenging.
Right.
If you wait until week 5 or 6 to get started, how challenging do you think this is really going to be?
Well, it's just like any class, you're going to be playing catch up.
Oh, yeah, and then there's a lot of anger, frustration, and people biting at each other, and no one's going to want to sit next to one. Why do you think I make you all sit together in your teams? Is to force the issue, and then I can watch you and see if there's problems happening. So, any other questions? Yes.
I got another one.
No, that's okay.
Our reading material, and when we go through the overview, it's going to tell us what we need to read for the week, right?
Mhm.
And then there's that extra reading too that not extra, but we can get a further or a more detailed, more meat and potatoes understanding of what the reading.
It gives you more flavor or depth to what you're thinking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But your primary goal is to get through your overview. Your weekly overview has all the things you must accomplish.
Yes.
So I don't want you to get too far behind in that. And that's why when I say I'm not going to penalize you for late work, I'm not going to get you, I'm not into punishment.
Yeah.
I'm into inspiring you with positive activity. But that said, if you put off doing your discussion forums, you're going to find it a little challenging to catch up as we get to the week 3.
They don't close at any point?
No,
Okay.
not till the first day of finals.
Okay.
We're done talking submissions the first day of finals because now I've got to do a lot of work in the next week.
Is there
Okay.
a final in this class?
No, that's your project.
Okay.
And that was something I did.
I thought there was a final.
Only IT 102 and 110. It's the only classes that actually have a final
That's what I
because
thought.
it's built around the CompTIA assessment concept. That's the whole idea behind why we do it there. Outside of that, there are always projects because those are where you apply what you're learning, not just through labs, but the project. Questions? Good now? Okay. So now I'm going to stop this.